4 years ago, as a squirming, fidgeting larval being, blindly peering out into a bright, unfamiliar world through wide, anxious eyes, I arrived at Brown. I suppose now that I must have been fairly normal at that point, or at least well within the acceptable range of variation for my species. Apparently, I had been conceived a year earlier in a beauteous yet somewhat monstrous union of the Brown Admissions Committee and my small, flimsy college application. So there I was, Justin Fabrikant, the rare and majestic college freshman. I had 2 legs for propulsion, 2 arms for balance, hands for grasping, feet for balance, eyes for seeing, mouth for hearing, ears for hearing. Mouth for eating, and a nose for sex appeal. That first year, I decided to take a variety of completely unrelated classes, mostly in the humanities. Using my brain, I had selected them on the basis of course title alone. Favorites included Bio 20, Foundation of Living Species, and Soc 30, Who Am I? So by the end of that year, my previously unspecialized features had evolved some new functions in order to cope with the unfamiliar college environment. I grew floppy, flipper-like flaps over my ears, allowing me to sleep peacefully in the midst of any amount of noise. One of my arms had acquired the ability to smear 3 pages of information onto 10 pages of paper. And I think I might have learned how to read while asleep. Equipped with my new adaptations, I was all set to face sophomore year. On the second day of the year, my brain, using very questionable logic, and on the basis of no evidence whatsoever, decided that I wanted to be an architect. With this lofty goal, I abandoned my enjoyable regimen of academic exploration and decided to buckle down. It was going to be an exciting year of science, and math. Looking back on that year now, I must say I don't remember much. I certainly don't think I can still integrate by parts. I made it through primarily because my legs had evolved an autopilot feature, allowing them to transport my dazed and brutalized mind to physics class every morning, which of course met at the crack of dawn. As an added bonus, my chest had grown an adaptive tentacle, which made studying easier by causing people to avoid me. It was a difficult time, and at the end of the long and painful year, a mysterious force motivated me to declare my concentration as visual art. I spent the summer riding across the country in service for Habitat for Humanity. After 64 marvelous days of powering up hills in gale force winds and listening for traffic behind me, my arms had atrophied into little T-Rex arms, and my legs were painfully removed and replaced with steel robot legs. And I grew a number of additional ears on my cheeks and shoulders. When I returned to Brown, I was determined. If Justin Fabrikant, half T-Rex, half robot, full of enthusiasm, promise, and ears, was going to be an art major, he was going to be the best damn art major the world had ever seen. Now, on the whole, the art I produced that semester was piss poor. I painted a swarm of abstract purple piranhas and built a 7-foot-tall spoon made of construction-grade lumber. I gradually became increasingly bitter. Upset with the quality of my work, I had grown from my forehead a little red imp who periodically made me feel like the worst individual in the world, whose only purpose was to produce bad art, watch movies, and squander golden opportunities. I grudgingly concluded that the only way I could restore my self-worth and slay the heinous red imp of despair was to change majors. Now, as a freshman, I had taken a biology class, so I picked biology as my way out. By then, I was a second semester junior. I had 3 semesters in which to complete the major. So I would need to take a lot of classes. And for that, I would need to adapt. After a month of organic chemistry, my forearm had turned into a graduated cylinder for easy measuring. After some time in physiology, I had evolved X-ray vision, allowing me to see in fine detail the inner workings of my gastrointestinal tract. For cell biology, one of my eyes had elongated into a scanning confocal microscope. 2 weeks of comparative biology of the vertebrates had left me with a full array of dissection tools. My left hand had grown a scalpel, a blunt probe, rat tooth tweezers, surgical scissors, and a bigger scalpel. Thus, I became fully prepared to slay the red imp of despair. He barely put up a fight. I am, to this day, a biology major. Ladies and gentlemen, I stand before you now having arrived at the other end of 4 years of adaptation, development, and evolution. I have taken at least 1 class in 16 different departments. We all have different stories. Those of you who took anthropology have feathers for aerial observation of unique cultures. And if you studied international relations, you probably have sonar for penetrating the murky sea of politics. Some of us may have regrets. I certainly do. But for every one of our experiences, both glorious and terrible, we have something to show. We have grown and adapted, and now, in one way or another, we are prepared for life beyond the warm womb of college. All of us have developed something remarkable and unique to give to the world. 4 years ago, as a freshman, my legs were good for propulsion, and my eyes were good for seeing. Now, 4 years later, as we stand at the threshold of our futures, I've got tons of extra ears. I can read while sleeping. I have X-ray vision, and one of my eyes is actually a very expensive microscope. My legs are robotic, made of steel, and have an autopilot feature. I have a tentacle sticking out of my chest. One of my arms is actually a T-Rex claw, can write 10 pages using 3 pages of information, and has a graduating cylinder where the forearm should be. My other arm features a scalpel, a blunt probe, rat tooth tweezers, surgical scissors, and a bigger scalpel. My nose is still for sex appeal. Destiny awaits.